What is up, Frog fans? Welcome to Postgame Beers. We are the Lupton Drinking Club. I'm your host tonight, JD Sailors, joined by tonight's co-host, Ray Cartwright. Light group, but we have lots to talk about. Is this the most exciting week of the season? It is, right? Like, there's no question.
Oh, it has to be. Today's like Christmas. Like, it kicks off like whenever you're a kid, Christmas break.
Yes. Great example. Great analogy. Yeah, so I've always thought about, is it Omaha, is it opening day, or is it regionals week? I love regionals week.
Dude, regionals, nothing beats it, dude. Fire up some squeeze play, dude. You have like 10, 12 different games going on at once.
Yeah, you get the so there's the quad box, but they've been going up to like 6 at certain parts during the day. Let's 6 screens on at one. You got Rooney.
Rookie numbers. Let's pump those up. Let's go for 8.
The soothing voice of Mike Rooney. Dude, he was so good. I love that he calls the Big 12 tournament. Rooney's the man.
Dude, he was excellent. I really wish we can get into it. We'll get into it in a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. Man, there's lots going on. We have lots to talk about. So let's just kind of set the theme of the week as far as post-game beers goes. Tonight is kind of just initial reactions. We'll talk about the Big 12 tournament. We'll talk about Selection Monday, of course. And then we'll just kind of go from there. We'll look at the field and get general thoughts and reactions. We will do a deep dish this week where we will dive into TCU's opponents up in Corvallis. Because I'll tell you the truth, as it stands right now, I know very little about USC or Oregon State. Or remind me who the 4th seed is again? St.
Mary.
I did watch. So I will say out of the 3 teams, I've probably watched St. Mary's the most because I was up watching their marathon with San Diego the other night.
We were rage watching St. Mary's because we needed them to lose.
I mean, I don't think that really mattered at that point. San Diego had kind of done all they could for us as far as, RPI and whatnot. But, so Oregon State, I just didn't really watch a whole lot of West Coast baseball this year. Now we have 3 West Coast opponents. So, of course.
That's how it goes, right?
Yeah, right. All right, so you want to get into it? Do you want to first? Let's we do have the LDC open this Saturday morning.
Yeah, dude, excited for this.
Yeah, so we will be at Grand Oaks Golf Club this Saturday before, day 2 of regionals gets going, and we're going to do a little competition. We haven't quite ironed out the stakes, but it's going to be a kind of a team format where Ray and I will team up against Garrett and MK. And the first 9 holes will kind of be like team best score. And then the second 9 will be 1v1s, me versus MK, Ray versus Garrett. And we got to figure out some kind of reward or punishment, but we have all week to do that. So come out to Grand Oaks and line those calories.
Well behind the tee box.
Yeah.
I don't know how my 30 handicap's going to play.
Bring your Kevlar helmets and come watch some pound golf. Now, it'll be a lot of fun. I think one of our listeners volunteered to videographer, so we can maybe turn this into kind of a YouTube thing. Should be a lot of fun. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. But, yeah, so we had the Big 12 tournament. Thought overall TCU played really well. Came up a little short in the championship game. But, they crush Houston. They crush Kansas. And damn, if that wasn't one of the best games of the year as far as TCU games goes, that 2-1 final against Arizona.
Edge of your seat drama.
Yeah, and it's like, man, I wish we could have scored more, but the way those teams were pitching, who was going to, what team in the country is hitting in that game? That was some electric pitching.
Bailey, what was it? Bailey, the freshman?
Yeah,
Arizona.
Yeah, who we did well against in the regular season. I think we chased him after 3 innings. We got 5 runs off of him, but he looked like a different guy the other night.
Helped out a lot by it helps pitching in Globe Life.
You're right, because I watched
we hit some warning track shots,
brother, and it wasn't just us. I mean, I watched a lot of that tournament, a lot of the other games, and so many well-struck balls were dying at the wall.
Yeah, a lot of 405, a lot of 400, right to the dirt.
I will say, as general takeaways from the tournament, giving up 4 runs in 3 games is extremely positive. 19 runs scored in 3 games is extremely positive. But what I really like the most about these 3 games is they seem to raise their compete level to a postseason standard. And that, to me, is the biggest takeaway.
100%. I mean, you go out, like a lot of people thought going in, Kansas was going to be your toughest opponent. At least I had the feeling.
Potentially,
because it's hard to beat a team 4 times in a season. Really needed that game as another, notch on the belt, and you just come out and it is belt to ass.
Why not just run roll them?
Belt to ass.
Yeah, it was really good. We got great pitching all weekend, as we mentioned. Is there anybody you want to talk about in particular? I really like that Tommy Lepore had a nice rebound because it looked like maybe he was getting fatigued towards the end of the year, but he brought his best stuff. 97 pitches in that first game against Houston, 6 1/3, only 2 hits allowed, 1 walk, total domination. So that was great to see going into postseason. I was always confident about Tommy, but now I'm back to thinking, he's a world beater. It doesn't matter who he's matched up against. Tommy's going to win us a game.
Dude, yeah, that's probably the biggest thing to come out of Globe Life, right? Because, the pitching's been a little shaky going into Globe Life, and you're like, man, postseason baseball is here. What are we going to do? Tommy.
Yeah.
Luis Rodriguez. Dude, Luis Rodriguez was insane.
Yeah, he was. Mason didn't have his tightest game. He needed 73 pitches to get through 3 innings, but Lewis came in after pitching 6 pitches the night before, goes 56 pitches in 5 innings to just, really shut the door on Kansas. We scored a lot of our runs late, and Lewis really slammed the door on any possible comeback opportunity.
Yeah, just took all sense of doubt away from Kansas.
Yeah. Then we get to the 3rd game against Arizona, and it's cool to see Nate Stern get a start. Like, it's, we see it every year. These freshmen just kind of turn into sophomores as the season goes. And I think that's what we're seeing from Nate Stern.
Dude, 100% worked out of some trouble.
Yep. Yeah, Arizona's a good team who can give a lot of pitchers fits. But, between Nate Stern, Lucas Shin, Braden Sloan.
Dude, how about Gianluca?
Yeah. 46 pitches, 2 2/3, his longest outing of the year by far.
Dude,
struck out 7 guys. Yeah.
Yes, I think it was like 6 in a row at one point.
Yeah, 7. I think he faced 9. Let's see. He faced 8 hitters, struck out 7 of them. I'll take that.
Every time.
That is an acceptable performance.
Hey, I will need, I'll take 5 strikeouts. You give me 5 strikeouts.
Sure.
And 8 batters, dude. I mean, dude, he was balls to the wall.
So I guess kind of the interesting talking point late is Braden Sloan. All right, so he goes 4 1/3. He comes out for the 9th, and you're feeling pretty good because he's facing the very bottom of the Arizona order, but their 8-hole hitter, I don't remember his name. It doesn't really matter.
Was it Kane?
Andrew Kane.
Like Andrew Kane.
Was that his first home run of the year?
Not sure.
Yeah, I think I'd heard that, but regardless, he squares up a high fastball. It was probably a little bit more over the plate than Braden wanted it, and boom, the game's tied. And it's like, okay, all right, Sloan finishes the 9th, but I think where TCU fans are a little perturbed is that he came out for the 10th. Like, no knock against Braden Sloan. It's just, dude, he's got to be cooked at this point. Like, let's go to somebody else, right? Well, they don't. They score the go-ahead run, end up winning the game 2-1. Cohen Feaster did come in to close out that inning. Looked pretty good. So the questions are, should Sloan have even started the 9th, but much less the 10th?
I am of the opinion that it was the right move.
For him to start the 10th?
Yeah. So I tweeted out 54. It was actually 64 pitches, but if you look at his pitch count all year, that's well within, his normal outing, right?
Yeah.
I went and added everything up of his entire outing. 10 of the 13 outs that he had gotten were ground out or strikeout.
Yeah,
He's inducing a lot of ground balls. Not a lot of like terribly hard contact. You know, he had the one mistake the inning before, right?
mm-hmm.
The first batter in the 10th inning, he gets to ground out, right?
Yep.
Okay, he hits the second guy. There, maybe you go to Feaster.
Yeah. Was that right before Guzman gets a hit?
Yes.
Okay.
But then it's
this is kind of what tells me that maybe it was time to pull him, because Guzman looked like, because it was third time through the order, and he looked like he was sitting on that pitch. Because you got a guy in Sloan that throws like 80% changeups, and miraculously Guzman's just sitting on a high fastball.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not happening the first time or the second time through, but that's an adjustment they made. Like, you're not just going to be miraculously sitting on a fastball against a guy who throws 80% changeups. But he got on top of it, hammered it to left, and at that point, we're in big trouble.
Yeah, and then is that when they took him out, or was it after the next batter? After the next batter,
I think there was a sac fly
that ball Guzman hit, you know, went first to third. They went first to third,
right,
and then the sac fly. But even then on the sac fly, right, you got a lefty, so it's lefty. You still got a man on first, one out.
Yeah, I think for me it was just
that. You can still get the ground ball, and then you're out of the inning.
But for me, it was the third time through the order thing that I don't know. But it's kind of whatever. But I will say that, you know, people were very hard on Kirk for that. But then we learned that we have a number of guys unavailable.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know if they were just unavailable because they want them healthy for postseason, or do we not see these guys for the rest of the year? And that's a little concerning for me as we go into the regional.
This team's banged up going into regionals.
Yeah. Yeah, it really is. I mean, Carson's out for the year. And, you know, if Cademan's hurt, then that explains his last two outings. But you also have Cade Smith and Cade Udy, or Caden Smith, Cade Udy, unavailable. Yeah. So I don't know how much of that is public info or not, but because, you know, we sometimes we hear things we don't talk about because we're not in the breaking news business. But
no, it's like you know, they want to treat it like hockey injuries, right?
Yeah,
lower body, upper body, just it's this time of year though, everyone's dealing with something.
So at that point, you know, we lose the championship game, which sucks, because I thought we had zero chance of hosting at that point. Now, as the night went and, you know, we go into, it would have been Sunday before they announced the host. There's a lot of people that are big followers of college baseball. You know, they do national broadcasts or they do other conferences, and they were making strong cases for TCU. And I'm thinking, all right, maybe am I being too pessimistic? Like, maybe we have more of a shot at hosting than I think. But as it turns out, we were not announced as a host Sunday night. And given how the committee seeded the tournament, I don't think we were ever close, quite frankly. I think we were behind Alabama. I think we were behind Georgia Tech, maybe even Florida as a potential host.
Yeah, it didn't feel, and I kind of had the feeling that even if we had beaten Arizona, I don't think we still would have got a host.
Now, I disagree. However, I don't think that beating Arizona is 100%, would have 100% given us a host like I did think. I think maybe there was some room for doubt, but I do think we do host if we win that game.
Dude, you lose in extras. Like, what difference could that have really have made?
Well, you win versus losing.
Okay.
I mean, it really can be simple as that. But not only that, though, we win that game, we jump up 3 or 4 more spots in RPI. We only finished behind Oregon by like 6 points. We would have gotten 30 points for that win, and that would have moved us up to like 13th in RPI. 13th, 14th, something like that. So it bolsters the resume, and, you know, I don't think they wanted to shut the Big 12 out in hosting. I just think nobody really made a strong enough case. But I think if TCU has a tournament champion on their resume, that's enough to justify them hosting over at least Tennessee.
Dude, I think the Big 12 already had a strong enough case for a host. And
I disagree.
You take either Arizona or Tennessee.
You're not.
You
no,
can't
no.
shut out, dude. You can't shut out and sit there and have the chairman come on and say they're the third best league in NCAA and then not award them a host when there are some borderline hosts, either Arizona or TCU. Pick one.
Arizona is not a borderline host, dude. They finished at 27 in
Miss
RPI.
was?
Yes, Southern Miss. Yes.
Their RPI's in the 20s.
No, it's at 19. That's a big difference from 27.
TCU's was better.
It was better, but Southern Miss beat us head to head. They had 44 wins.
Dude,
I'm not here to remake the case, but
fuck about RPI in the end, right?
The committee, 16 or let's see, 14 of the 16 hosts were top 16 in RPI.
So yeah, these games don't.
Sorry, dude. If it's not TCU, there was nobody else even close to the discussion for hosting in the Big 12. It's that simple. But I don't think TCU had a strong enough argument, honestly. Now, if you want to make a case against Tennessee, I'll listen to that. But they still finished 11th in RPI.
We already know. I mean, the SEC's RPI should all be thrown out because they sit there.
It doesn't work that way.
Well,
it doesn't work that way.
They freaking cook the books.
Yes.
All year.
They do.
Dude, so a team that loses 5 of 6 weekend series to end the year gets run ruled in their conference tournament. That's a deserving host.
They're the only one out of the 16 that I would say
UCLA.
Is shaky. Let's see. UCLA 15th in RPI, 42 wins, 14-9 against quad 1 and quad 2. Number 20, let's see, strength of schedule. Number 22, strength of schedule. Yeah, I don't have a problem with UCLA hosting.
Boy, I do.
All I'm saying is there's arguments that can be made for these teams hosting, and I think they're a little bit better than the arguments for TCU. And no other Big 12. Hosting? I can't do this with every team, dude.
Well, I mean, I'm just teams that I thought TCU should have hosted over.
If TCU would have been chosen to host over them, that would not have been egregious. But also leaving TCU out is not egregious either.
It's egregious in the fact that the Big 12 has no representation.
But that's the Big 12's fault.
How?
TCU is the only one even worth discussing. So take the rest of the Big 12 out of it. They're irrelevant. So it's TCU or bust for the Big 12. And you can make an argument, very strong one, that TCU should not host. Simple as that.
I do not hear your argument. I reject your argument.
Well, nobody's really banging the drums on Twitter saying TCU should have hosted except for TCU people.
That's because all the people that we want banging have their pockets being lined with SEC money.
But those teams also deserve it. That's my point. And you cannot write off the SEC as they cook the books. They are the most talented conference in the country. That's the truth.
So let's go back to our interview with Mike Buddy.
Okay.
And it's the way he would present, it's not the 16 best team, or the 64 best teams. It's the 64 most deserving teams.
Right.
Tennessee does not deserve to host. You gotta, you play the games. You've got to win the games.
Well, they won 43 of them. They have the number 12 strength of schedule.
They have the number 217th strength of non-conference schedule.
The committee decided collectively that the non-conference strength of schedule is not
because it wouldn't fit their SEC narrative.
You can call it that.
If you look, dude, Martin tweeted out the SEC. Here, you want me to read it off for you?
You sure?
Okay. Texas, 203rd.
Is this all non-conference strength of schedule?
Non-conference
All right, let me stop you right there and remind you that the committee just decided that's not.
Yeah, because it wouldn't fit their narrative of getting these stupid teams in to the best hosting spots where they can make the most fucking money.
I would hear your gripe if there wasn't also a case for these teams to host. You can make a case for or against all these teams, including TCU.
Yeah, but the only case for them to host is point at RPI.
No.
And we all know that the SEC, everyone knows how RPI is determined, right?
Number 12 strength of schedule, 21-16 against quad 1 and quad 2. I mean, it's
RPI is determined by the team's winning percentage, their opponent's winning percentage, and then those opponents' winning percentage. So when all these SEC schools are scheduling cupcake non-conferences, they have inflated records going into conference play.
Yeah.
So yeah, they're going to have good RPIs once they start playing each other. It's how they cook the books.
Yeah. Well, you know what? Tennessee is a shaky one. I admit that, but there's also an argument for them. So you know what? And I'll just close with this. I'm going to close this segment with this. TCU had about a dozen opportunities to secure a spot to where they could not be denied a host spot. About a dozen opportunities, and they failed in every single one of them. They could have swept Cincinnati. They could have won the Big 12. They could have beat Southern Miss. They could have beat Arkansas. They could have beat Texas Tech. They could have beat Houston. They could have swept Utah. Utah, for God's sake. They lost. They dropped a game to Utah.
You're telling TCU you have to be perfect.
No, I didn't say perfect.
team can lose 5 of 6 to end the year, get their ass packed in the conference tournament, and now, hey, here's your sweet hosting spot.
I didn't say perfect. I did not say perfect.
I mean, that's pretty much what these teams have to do to get a hosting spot. Just play perfect ball.
Aside from Kansas, what is TCU's statement to the committee we should host? And I'm talking about individual statements.
They only lost 4
series on the year. That's not my question. Show me the statement they made to deserve a host.
Well, you swept San Diego on the road. You beat Fresno State. In the midweek, you split with DBU. Should have beat DBU the other game.
Well, they didn't, did they?
Took 2 from UT Rio Grande Valley, beat UTSA.
Who left out of the tournament entirely.
Yeah, that was a shame.
All right. The point is they had a chance to host, secure a host spot, make it undeniable. They didn't do it.
The point is they did enough to host. They did enough, and they should.
And they did.
And if you're the third best conference, you should have a host.
No.
Over the 9th best SEC team, or even like the 4th best.
I'm not going to go in circles about this. But you can't use the conference argument when only one team is even close to being considered. All right, let's move on. So what are your initial thoughts about the Corvallis Regional? Because we're going to do a deep dish, but so just to reset, Oregon State is the number 8 national seed. I was a little surprised. Like
they shouldn't have.
I was thinking it would have been Oregon or Ole Miss. You know, a lower seed, right? Like a lower hosting seed.
Yeah.
But we got paired with the number 8 national seed. That was a little surprising to me. I don't think anybody was mocking us to the number 8 seed as a really, really high 2 seed.
When I look at TCU's bracket and I see that they're paired up with the Tallahassee Regional.
Yeah.
My first thought was that TCU Northeastern Super Regional at Lupton is going to hit like crack.
That'd be nice if that worked out that way. But just from, I think it works out pretty well by just glancing at it. USC was one of the last 4 teams to make the tournament, and that's who we draw in the opening game. So got to like Gotta like that. Do you have any initial thoughts on Oregon State, or the fact that we got sent to the number 8 national seed as a really high 2 seed?
I don't mind that, just because if you take care of business, well, then you're facing kind of a lower seed in supers. Like, I feel like that
Right.
path's a little easier, quote unquote, right? Than if you
Yeah.
were like getting sent to the 14th or 15th seed. Next thing you know, you're having to go to
Austin,
or even if
Fayetteville.
like Fayetteville, which I wouldn't mind
Right.
actually.
Well,
Or
a little different
to
team.
Nash Vegas, right?
Yeah. Right.
A little easier going to, potentially Tallahassee, or Florida State may shit the bed, and now you're looking at a potential host for the second round, right? Or
Yeah,
supers, right?
I think any 1 seed is going to be tough. I think as a 2 seed, I'm more curious about who the 3 seed is. Are we getting a killer as a 3 seed? But in this case, we're not. We're just simply I can't make the case initially right now that USC is a really strong 3 seed. I mean, the committee said so by making them a last 4 team in.
And so I was on Twitter all day, just arguing with anyone and everyone that would listen.
Sounds like a lot of wasted energy.
Well, it was raining most of the day, so I didn't really have nothing else to do.
And energy to burn, huh?
A lot of energy to burn. We were fired up. But I came across our good friend Steve Udy tweeted this out.
Okay. Right? What's he got?
Oregon State had 20 Power 4 games this year that they played. Remember, they're independent. So they've been sitting on their ass for the better part of a month now because they didn't have to play in a conference tournament, right? So they're going to be rusty as all get out going.
Well, that's interesting. Let me stop you right there, because that brings up an interesting thought. How I was talking about TCU playing postseason competitive level baseball over the weekend. What's that do for Oregon State that they've kind of been in off-season mode for a while?
Dude, yeah, they're sitting there. Oh, yeah, dude. Our inter-squad scrimmage, that had the feel of a
man. I mean,
vibe.
Like, we're coming in off
of cooking.
We're coming in off of, competitive adrenaline, and I can't think that's going to be good for them, right? Like, you can talk about rest all you want, but rest versus rust, I guess. But like, how are they going to just be able to turn it on? I mean, they might with the home crowd and all, but I don't know. It'll be interesting. It'll be a storyline.
Do they have much of a home crowd? I don't know.
Yes, dude. Yes.
Anyway, so Steve
They've won like 3 natties in the last 15 years.
Yeah, they also had like Audi Rushman behind the plate.
I mean,
Nick Abel.
I'm really excited to break this team down, because I honestly don't know a lot about their squad as is, but
I think they've got a first round shortstop. Anyways, Steve Udy tweeted they had 20 Power 4 matchups this year with their independent schedule. They went 9-10-1, one tie because of travel delays, like couldn't make travel time. 10-9-1 against P4 this year.
Okay. That's 19 games.
So you got TCU rolling in.
Yeah, go ahead.
And they're probably almost better than 90% of those Power 4 teams that they've played all year. I think, didn't Oregon sweep? I haven't looked at their schedule, granted. I think Oregon swept Oregon State this year.
That is a fact, because one of the points of debate was Oregon not getting a top 8 despite being 4-0 against Oregon State. But man, it kind of annoys me that the Big Ten gets so much credit. Like, wins against the Big Ten. Who gives a fuck about the Big Ten?
Dude. And it's the Pac-12 schools that are doing the winning.
Yeah, I know.
It's not it's not Michigan. It's not Indiana,
I thought it was funny
Illinois, Ohio State,
11 points,
Maryland.
11.7 was like recapping all the Pac-12 schools and how they did this year in their new conferences. And it's like, I said, yeah, the only difference is there's people now actually watching their games.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, but even then in the Big Ten, barely.
Yeah, but
we watch Big Ten baseball.
I don't know. Do you have any other thoughts overall in the tournament because we're at 30 minutes and that's how much time I allotted for this episode. So
I love that the Big 12 got 8 teams in. I feel like that was a makeup for them not getting a host. Was the committee was like, okay, well, we'll give you all the bubble teams will get in.
Why
because
is it
every single bubble team got in?
Why is it in every sport the Big 12 narrative is the same? It's like lots of good teams, very deep conference, and they beat each other up and nobody stands out. It's the same way in football.
Dude, it's this media narrative, right?
But it's also true. Like that's the way it played out on the field.
To an extent, but dude, and everyone's, people will say, well, Big 12 just has to go win in these games, but they're constantly being put in tough positions to go win.
Right.
It's hard when you have to go on the road constantly to go win a regional. That's a tough ask. Dude, I watched the entire selection show today, and they spent about 0 minutes talking about the Big 12. They did 2 full segments breaking down the SEC and the ACC.
They didn't break down the SEC. They broke down the hosts.
No, they went more than that.
It. No, they didn't.
Dude, they went more than that.
They weren't in there talking about Kentucky. They were talking about the host. They had segments prepared about the hosts. That's what they talked about. And it just so happens most of them are from those 2 conferences, and they should be. They're the best 2 conferences in the country.
Yeah, the Big 12
TCU
is
is third.
behind.
It's not far behind the ACC, no. It is significantly far behind the SEC. That's just the fact of the matter. All right. So deep dish coming up. Maybe we can even try to secure an interview. So I feel like I just want to do a podcast like every day this week. Not literally, but it's an exciting week, man. It
is very exciting. And
while we have a captive audience, let me also advertise Curry Cup. If you guys are looking for a bracket challenge, I'm in year 11 of a bracket challenge I created. Well, if you do the math, 11 years ago. And we've been doing it every year. It's a lot of fun. It's grown over the years. Ray, how much did you win when you took home your purple jacket?
Not as much as the pot is now. That's for damn sure. I think
did you win before it took off?
Like $500 or something. Yeah, still very nice, but
it's around 1,000.
1,000.
Yeah, so if you take home the first place prize, it's around $1,000 usually. It depends on how many people sign up, but we have a good turnout. And so if you're interested in playing, it's different from other bracket challenges because you actually get to pick twice. You pick the winner of the regional and the super, and then before Omaha starts, regardless of how your picks did, you wipe the slate clean and you get to pick Omaha from scratch. So even if you picked 0 teams correctly to advance to Omaha, you get to start over and fill out an Omaha bracket. So it kind of gives you, if you're not doing well in the regionals and the super regionals, you can catch back up in Omaha. So it keeps it competitive for the entire, month that this tournament goes on.
And it's not just you're picking winners either. Like these winners are weighted, right?
Right. Yeah.
So if you are feeling ballsy and I think this 3 seed can really win this regional. Well, that's going to garner you more points than just going straight ones across the board.
That is correct. Yeah. It's not just a flat 1 point for a correct pick. It is weighted by, the courage you have to pick lower seeds. So if you want to play, send me a DM at Curry Cup NCAA or at my personal at JD Sailors. And hey, while we're at it, how about Chinook Seedery? Welcome to the pod. Good friends of the pod, sponsor of the pod. ChinookSeedery.com. Go get you a combo pack. Use promo code LDC to get 10% off of each and every order. Ray, what flavor are you rocking? Is it still Hatch chili, or you got something else?
I got some LP, some lemon pepper. I've got a lot of lemon pepper, but I've got some Hatch chili sitting on the table too.
Yeah, so shout out to Chinook. It's been fun partnering with them throughout this season. Also, shout out to Long Drink and Anduno. Of course, if you're going to Corvallis this weekend, hope you got your Anduno bag. Dude, if you don't, let's rectify that situation immediately. Go to anduno.us. get yourself a travel bag. Use promo code LDC2025 for 10% off.
No better travel bag when you're having to fly and then fight Portland or Eugene, whichever.
I feel like I've been living out of my Anduno bag the last few weeks.
You've been on the road.
I don't know where I would be without my Anduno bag. I got to tell you. So, all right. We appreciate everybody tuning in on YouTube. And if you're listening recorded, shout out to you guys as well. Stay tuned the rest of the week. We'll have plenty of regionals coverage. 2 p.m. on Friday, we're going to sneak in a Toadcast.
I'll be
For those
around.
not traveling. Yeah, Toadcast on Tuesday. Perhaps.
Yeah, I can't make flights are little unless someone wants to fly me up there.
I was going to do this for tonight and I forgot. I was going to look at what would the travel cost be, like flight and everything.
I think I was looking for Thursday I would have to come back Saturday anyways because of work. It's like $475, I think.
Oh, that's not bad. It's not bad. Or
okay, Mr. Moneybags.
No, I'm just saying relative. I'm not spending. I'm not going. I got family coming to town. We're going to a Ranger game Friday night of all nights.
Dude, hey, that 2 p.m. start.
I know, dude. I was sweating it. I was really sweating it if we were hosting.
Dude, usually the host team plays first on the regional.
Yeah, it depends. I think some teams just prefer the night game because you get a better crowd, and I don't know. Yeah, I think that'll do it for tonight. So until next time, go Frogs.
Hey, and someone remind the SEC they ain't that great.
All right. We're
go
good.
Frogs.